Hey there, Speedy. Welcome back to Drunk Driving School. I'm your host, and I own a school that helps people beat drunk driving charges. Now, in this video series, I take you through the top 10 mistakes that I see people make when they get arrested for drunk driving, so that way you don't make them. And if you're new here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out. Now, in this episode, we're going to talk about mistake number 2, which is saying yes to field sobriety tests. Now, law enforcement officers use field sobriety tests for a couple of reasons. One is to help establish probable cause to make an arrest, and also to help establish the level of intoxication at the time of the arrest. Now, you may have seen videos online of people doing field sobriety tests and doing a great job on them, but what you need to know is those are very rare. Actually, 99% of people that take field sobriety tests do poorly on them, because the truth is, the field sobriety tests are designed for you to fail even if you're sober. In fact, many courts have actually ruled that these field sobriety tests are not reliable, accurate, or even relevant. And because of that, many states are starting to change the standard from a horizontal gaze nystagmus, or HGN, as it's known, to an actual preliminary breath test, which is the PBT. The PBT is more reliable and more accurate and is slowly being adopted by more and more states. However, not all states have adopted that standard yet, and if you're pulled over in one of those states, you're going to be asked to perform a field sobriety test. And if you say no, then the officer can become more suspicious, especially if you say no several times. So let us say you refuse to do the walk and turn or the one-leg stand or even the HGN. Then the officer will ask you to do the other ones, and if you refuse to do any of them, then the officer can become more suspicious and possibly make an arrest. Now, what you need to understand is the results of these tests are almost never admissible in court. In fact, I can tell you right now that the HGN test, which is the eye test that officers are trained to look for signs of intoxication, has been deemed inadmissible in several states, including North Carolina and New Mexico. Other states, like Nevada and Mississippi, have also ruled that these tests are not reliable enough to be used by law enforcement officers. In fact, in the case of Nevada, the state Supreme Court said that the HGN test was so unreliable that it should never be used again by any police officer in that state. However, the problem with refusing these tests is that even though the results are inadmissible in court, the performance of the test itself can be used against you. For example, if you're asked to do a one-leg stand and you start to lose your balance, the officer can use that to establish probable cause to make an arrest. That's because the officer doesn't need the results of the test to be admissible in court. They just need it to be reliable enough to establish probable cause. Now, I'm not telling you to go out there and be belligerent with law enforcement officers. What I am telling you is that you should know your rights and understand that these tests are completely voluntary in most states. You should never feel like you have to submit to a field sobriety test. In fact, you should always tell the officer that you do not consent to any field sobriety test and that you do not want to do any of them. By doing that, you eliminate any possible evidence that could be used against you, even if you're sober. So remember, Speedy, never say yes to field sobriety tests. Instead, stay tuned for the next video where I'll teach you what to do after you get arrested for drunk driving. Oh, and Speedy, if you're enjoying my videos and you're learning something from them, please hit that like button. It really helps me out. Also, if you know someone that needs to hear this information, please share this video with them. And as always, thanks for watching. See you next time.